So this was a trip I almost didn't take. A few days in Bristol, then to Cardiff for two unforgettable rugby matches, Lyon versus Bath and Northampton versus Bordeaux. It was all planned, all set, meant to be shared with someone who, at the time, meant the world to me. But they chose not to come. And for a while, that choice nearly kept me from going at all. The idea of doing it alone felt hollow, like something would be missing, but I went, hesitantly, quietly, and then fully. And somewhere between the colour of Bristol streets, the roar of the Cardiff crowd, and the stillness of a thoughtful Sunday event that I'd carefully planned that didn't happen, I found something unexpected. Peace. And I understood everything. Not just in the place or the people I met, but in the space that opened up when I let go of what was never really mine. The person I should have gone with doesn't mean anything to me now, and that's not bitterness, it's just the truth. Because of this trip, well, it turned out to be exactly what I needed. Not a shared memory and activities, but a personal turning point, and I'm glad I didn't miss it. It's funny how a person can go from meaning everything to meaning absolutely nothing. We choose to ignore red flags, and that's up to us. So here's to going anyway, to finding joy in your own company, to meeting great people, and discovering that sometimes solo doesn't mean alone. So, for whatever reason you may be travelling solo and you're hesitating, just go for it. It will do you a world of good and you won't regret a thing. So I'm in Bristol. Across for the rugby, which is in Cardiff. I've got a day and an evening in Bristol. And I'm in this little place, it's called Brooks's Guest House. It's right in the real kick-in area of Bristol. And they've got these like caravans on the roof. I'm not actually in one, but I've been offered an invite to have a look inside these caravans. They're like little airstreams which are rooms for people. It's amazing. Right on the roof, you can see one up there, and there's two over there. I think there's about 6 of them, something like that. But it's absolutely brilliant. I'll show you more or less where we are. I'll just go out through here, and we're right near. This is just here. We're right in the old centre of Bristol, right near the corn market at St Nicholas's, and we'll go and have a look, because I need a coffee. So let's go and get a coffee. This place is just starting to come alive. It's a bit early, I guess. It's about, what time is it? It's 8:30. So these are apparently all food stalls. There's one here. See what it looks like later. I've got to get a coffee anyway. So these look like, this is the old corn market, I think, and we'll have a look, because there's an interesting thing which is related to English expressions not so far away. And that over there, St Nicholas's Church, I think. I don't know if it'll be open. There's a nice little pub here as well. I went past there last night. I went to this pub last night. It's called Seamus O'Connell's, so you expect it to be like, you know, Irish or whatever, which I guess it might be. But obviously I'm not very observant, because in fact it turned out to be a gay and trans comedy night, which was pretty amazing. It was good fun. But I love the thing that they have. I can see they've got all rainbow stuff on it. So obviously I didn't look at that last night, but I'm not bothered anyway. But I'll just show you their sort of warning sign, which I saw afterwards, which was pretty amazing. But anyway, there you go. This is the old market, St Nicholas's. This is their warning sign, which is, you know, fair enough. Great. I was not at all offended. I didn't recommend places, but I would recommend this. It's the place where I'm staying. It's right in the hub of like Bristol's like happening places. The only thing is, it was Wednesday last night, so I'm a bit, so obviously it's Thursday today, and it was pretty noisy. So, not in the hotel, but all around. There's loads and loads of pubs and bars and clubs and God knows what else. So, you know, take your ear defenders or something. This is English expressions time. I'm in the corn market, which was where they used to sell, believe it or not, grain. You thought I was going to say corn. It's not only corn, but all grain. So it was all around here. This is quite a historic area. And if you've ever heard the expression, to pay on the nail, you ever heard of that expression? Okay, well, it's an English expression which means to pay up front, you know, paying cash or whatever. Do you know where that came from? I'm going to show you. This is where it came from. So these are called the nails. And what they used to do, they would, you know, agree a price on the grain, etc. that they were selling. There's a few of them around here. You can see them there. This was the old corn market. You can see the church and everything there. And then they would put their money on here and the deal was done. So there you go. Paying on the nail came from here. You can see on here there's an inscription of it being given as a gift to another benefactor of the city. Sure to have a bit more or less noise on her case. And there's a few of them around here. They're sort of slightly different shape, but it's all the same. And this is the old, from here, you can see it up there. This is the old corn exchange, where all of the merchants would be around here. Of course, Bristol's got quite a history of, well, it's got a bit of a checkered past, in fact, because it was a slave port. It was also there are a lot of old tobacco and bond warehouses, which are now sort of been transformed into all sorts of things. Bond warehouses, so they would come, all of the goods from the colonies or whatever, and then be put in bond warehouses where they would be taxed. Yeah, so the history of slavery and also of alcohol. There was very strong links between Bristol and Jerez la Frontera in Spain for the sherry. There's a famous sherry that is blended or whatever, bottled in Bristol. It's called Harvey's Bristol Cream. There you go. And also the houses of, which you can see in Porto, like Coburn's, Sandyman, etc., all in Bristol as well. So there's a lot of alcohol, a lot of spices, a lot of tobacco, and slavery was. And in fact, we'll see later a little bit about this, which in recent times sort of came into the news. Little alleys to explore a bit later. I'm just going to have a coffee and then we'll get back down to it. So this, amongst other things, was featured in Charles Dickens' Pickwick Papers, where Mr. Winkle stayed. There you go. So the Bristol Cross was here because in fact Bristol was also a county. It is now in the county of Avon or Somerset, one of the two. They keep changing it, but at one point I remember it as being a county on its own. So there was Somerset and then Wiltshire, and Bristol was the county. So there you go. But now this cross is not here anymore. It's in Stourhead, which is in Wiltshire somewhere. Pretty much in sort of the medieval part of Bristol now, although Bristol did suffer quite a lot during the war. It was pretty much bombed out, and there's a church actually which is still, you can see the bomb damage. It's pretty cool streets around here. It's really quite nice feeling about it. The UK as well, you'll notice that most people need a haircut because there's barber shops bloody everywhere, and otherwise it's coffee shops or food. Don't know how they earn their money. Well, you know, the people obviously selling coffee and cutting hair are earning money, but what about all the rest of them? Don't know what they're up to. This is the old city of Bristol, which is pretty much where we were earlier and where my hotel is as well. So the centre of Bristol is pretty much dominated by the harbour, the docks and the River Avon, which is a bit tidal. We'll probably get there later. Sort of a mix of the modern and the new. So it looks like there's some quite well marked out pathways along here. Try and follow them. which is hopefully going to be sort of the Harbour circuit, because the Harbour is a pretty kicking place as well. We'll have a look anyway. Basically, during the war, the Second World War, on the night of the 24th of November, this was heavily bombed. It was virtually flattened. In fact, all along here, it was once known as the Shambles. Shambles means in something which is like disorganised or whatever. There's a place in York called the Shambles as well, and it was basically all for meat. There was slaughterhouses, packing, etc., butchers, and over here is maybe the remains of the church that was bombed during the Second World War, but we'll have a look at that in a second. And Bristol at the time was the second richest city in the UK, only just beaten to it by London. It was a very, very rich port and trading city. Now here's a fun fact. These gardens have got lots of different plants from all over the world, and it's something called ballast seeds. And ballast seeds were water that was taken into a boat to keep it level. You know, they had to put more water on when they had less cargo to keep the water line regular. And within this ballast, the seeds actually came. They just naturally were put into the ballast, and then the ballast, when they came to the port where they were going to fill up with goods and cargoes or whatever, they let this ballast water out, and the seeds would then go into the water of the rivers and the port or whatever, and they'd end up growing. And a lot of these plants come from Africa, South America, etc., and they're what are called ballast seeds. I mean, fig, this is a fig. You don't see figs normally in the UK, but there you go, ballast seeds. That's a really important fun fact for you. There are loads of things that I didn't really expect to see here, like for example a memorial to some Bristol men who died fighting in the Spanish Civil War. How about that? And this is a memorial to the people of Bristol who died during the air raids between June 1940 and May 1944. So this is the remains of St Peter's Church, which was bombed during the Second World War, and it's been kept like it. And in fact, I've just been told that all of this area was full of houses, shops, etc. There are a few churches in Bristol which during the bombings of the Second World War got damaged and just didn't get repaired. It sort of stays as a living sort of memory to what happened. It's yeah, quite poignant really when you see this. You're not too far from water ever in Bristol. This is the back of the ruined church. This is an interesting thing as well. This is in remembrance of the Sikh regiment of World War I, which, okay, Sikhs made up 20% of the British Army in the First World War, despite being less than 2% of the Indian population. So it was virtually all the Sikhs, and they were really well known for their bravery. In fact, there was one story, it's not a story in fact, it's the Battle of Sarigari on the northwest Indian frontier, and 21 Sikhs held at bay 10,000 Afghans, and they fought to the last man, and they were awarded the Indian Order of Merit, which is like the Victoria Cross of India. I love these things. It's a remembrance to somebody. It serves a purpose. It's quite poignant, but it's like useful. This is a remembrance of the Normandy veterans. And I love this thing. It says, "Your day at the beach was brought to you by their day at the beach." Wow. This is a tower of remembrance, or a pillar of remembrance for Normandy. And I've just noticed that there's a guy from my family there. My uncle was called Peter. I don't know if it was him. It would have been too early for him, but it's not a particularly well-known name. And apart from the Boxer Creed now, but amazing. I don't really know where I'm going. I'm just following this. I think it's a bit of a circuit. I'm hoping it is anyway. Otherwise I'll have to go back the other way. But I'll just follow it, see where I go. The building there is an old bond warehouse. They were all like this, and there was loads of them at the time. At the time of the trade. But I remember a lot of them around here, and it was all pretty much derelict along here when I was a kid. Not a nice place to be, but now they've turned it into a really nice walkway. It's really lovely. Let's go a bit further. So these old bond warehouses are quite trendy places now. You know, the people have built lofts or apartment buildings in them. There's quite trendy IT companies, etc., restaurants, bars, you name it. But at one point, this would have been where all the tobacco and alcohol would have been kept until the customs had been paid on them. And Bristol was also famous for chocolate. There was a company, I don't know, it may still exist, it was called Fry's, but it's probably been taken up by Nestle and others like this now. But Fry's was a famous, so there would have also been, I don't know whether cocoa would have been bonded, but put in the bond warehouse. Alcohol definitely would have been, tobacco definitely would have been. And basically the waterfront before was just full of these warehouses. And now you can see from the water up to the little church where we were earlier. Is the coat of arms of Bristol. You can see it on here, but this church definitely looks like it's tilting to the right. We'll go and have a look and see if it really is. So it's called the Temple or Holy Church. Let's go and have a look. I was absolutely right. This church is tilting towards me and slightly to the right. It's all over the place. And it looks like another one of them churches that was bombed during the war and never repaired. In fact, this church was a Knights Templar church in the mid-12th century, and then in the 14th century it became a parish church, and then on the 24th of November 1940, it was bombed by German bomber planes, and everything around it, all around here, was all flattened, but they said that this church was too important for the city to be demolished, and so they just shored it up, and it stays exactly like that as a memorial to the time of what they called the Bristol Blitz, 24th of November 1940, quite early in the war really. Sort of orangey type, pinky type concrete that you can see there is what was put there by what was called the Ministry of Works a fair while ago to actually ensure that the church didn't topple over. But it is definitely leaning quite a lot. But there you go, it stands as a memorial to the Second World War. Close up, the shoring up that was done with concrete and bricks, just to ensure that it was able to stay. But it was quite a big church actually, it's pretty massive. And I never really thought that there were these many churches that were damaged, but all around here you can see just totally modern buildings. Everything around was flattened, but somehow the church sort of more or less survived. I mean, the roof was obviously blown off, and probably there were fires because they used to use incendiary bombs. We can see that a lot of the all of the windows obviously were blown out, but most of the, which would have been stained glass, the frame's still there, apart from this one. This must have been quite close to the bigger blast. But it's amazing how it sort of withstood most of it. I mean, those tiles are obviously newish, and there's a lot of shoring up work which has been done to ensure that it doesn't fall over. But the amazing thing is this tilt. I don't know if you can see it here, but if you look at it with the other buildings there, you can see it's definitely tilting forward and to the left, this tower. So I thought that the leaning tower was actually to do with the bomb damage that got in the Second World War, but in fact this was a Knights Templar church in the 1130s, and the bell tower was already leaning when it was finished in about 1460, and they just left it like it. Obviously they say that the reason it was leaning because the foundations were insufficient, but they kept it there. And then you turn another corner and there's another church ahead. Let's go and see what that is. I'm trying to get back to the water to go around the harbour. There's some pretty cool places. I think I could do with another coffee. I think the caffeine's worn off, so I need to get another coffee. But we'll have a look at what this church is. I have a feeling that it might be St Mary's Redcliffe, but we'll see. I'm still thinking it's St Mary Redcliffe, but I've got to confirm that. It looks familiar. Yes, so it actually is St Mary Redcliffe. I can see the sign. I was going to go in, have a look inside, so I've never been in there, but I've just seen like loads and loads of school kids going in there, so there's like, they're doing tours, so I don't think I'll bother. But it looks nice from the outside. So now I'm getting back to the waterfront. I'm going to find a cafe, I think. Have a little coffee. Time for some more caffeine, definitely. I mean, if you're going to live in the middle of a city, why not live on a narrowboat on the river or on the canal? I think that would be really, really cool. There's one over there even with a lawn on it. It's fabulous. Look at that, and you're right in the middle of the city. Okay, a bit noisy with the traffic, I guess, but you know what I mean. So what I have noticed, coming back to Bristol, is how green it is. This is Queen Square, which is like right in the centre of Bristol, and it's lovely. And we're heading now to what could be the oldest pub in Bristol. I'm not going to have a drink, but I'm going to go there anyway, and maybe there'll be some fun facts on the way, especially for British people who know this. Del Boy of the comedy Only Fools and Horses, apparently the part where he falls through the bar was filmed here. There you go. That is a big fun fact. Not, yeah, it's a bit cultural, but there you go. This is one of the oldest pubs in Bristol. It's called the Llandoger Tro, and it dates back to 1664. And apparently it was the inspiration for the pub called the Admiral Benbow in Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island. And it was basically, it was a sailor that had this place in the 1660s called Joe McMahon, and he named it after Llandogo in Wales, which built Tros, which were flat bottom riverboats. And it's also where Daniel Defoe met Alexander Selkirk and William Dampier, and his inspiration was fired by this place to write Robinson Crusoe. And there's supposed to be 15 ghosts in here and one little green ghoul. It's actually on what's called the Treasure Island Trail. And there's another pub down the road called the Hole in All and the Black Spot. Do you remember that? If you've read Treasure Island, the Black Spot given by the blind Pew. So this is the Thekla, and I remember in the 1990s, kids, come in here, and it was a nightclub. It could still be. And it was a real cool place to be. And it probably still is. There you go. The Thekla on the water. There's the Thekla. That in the distance, that spire is the spire of St Mary Redcliffe. And now we're on, I think this is called Mud Dock or something like this. It's pretty much known for that because the Severn and the Avon are tidal rivers and they bring in a lot of mud. The Bristol Channel is like very muddy, it's not very clear, it's not like the Mediterranean or the Atlantic or whatever. And that's what serves this. The port of Bristol is River Avon, in fact, to get from here to the sea, but the port has been a little bit sort of moved is to Avonmouth, which is like on the River Severn. So before they had to go the Avon and then to the Severn, and then is the Bristol Channel and wherever they went to then. But there you go. Right, it was called Mud Dock. And you know, here's a bit of a lucky thing, and I'll tell you, this is a sign. Here is a Porsche 718 Cayman GTS. My initials are CCC and my lucky number is 7. So this could be a big sign, and I've done the lotto tonight. I have to just send for my dog Stanley so he can come over here, because I've not finished my tour of Bristol. I think I'll go up there to the Mud Dock Cafe, which will be a nice view onto the river, and have a coffee. Why not? I'll just leave my car here, be back later. This is the harbour side, and there never used to be anything here, and it's really got pretty popular. At weekends I bet it's really, on evenings it's mega popular. This is the waterfront, and behind I think that is Bristol Abbey or something like this. Sort of know it more or less. So now we're going over across the harbour to see what's on the other side. It looks like more bars, cafes. Whoa, I can feel this bridge moving. It's concrete, but I can really feel it moving as we're going across. Pretty amazing. And we have the obligatory padlocks by idiots that think they're going to be in love forever. Silly people. But there you go. I guess maybe one or two of them will be. But yeah, whatever. They've even got an Australian house here. That's how they are in Australia, you know. That's what you can see over there. I think that's part of Bristol University over there. I think that's part of Bristol University over there. It's better everywhere. So those masts you can see in the distance there, those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 masts, is the SS Great Britain, which was the first iron ship built by Isambard Kingdom Brunel, who's very famous in Bristol. Over there on the hill, the coloured houses is Totterdown, I think, which used to be a bit of a rough area, but it's looking quite nice now. Looks like Duck's Paradise here. There's the SS Great Britain. We'll get it from the other side as well. The weather's absolutely fabulous, much better than in France. So there is the SS Great Britain, the first metal or iron steamship built by Isambard Kingdom Brunel, and I think the main man is down there. I can see a statue of something. And down there we can see some more of the bonded warehouses where all of the taxable goods would have been put, tobacco, alcohol, etc., before they were released by the tax man or woman, well, probably man at the time. And this would be the harbour going onto the River Avon, which would then take it to the sea. And this looks like probably a pilot's cutter. Would have been one of the boats that a pilot would have got onto to help them navigate into the harbour. But yeah, they're about 100 years old by the looks of it, so that's about it. So just to go back to this SS Great Britain, she was the first iron screw propeller ship to cross the Atlantic in 1845, and it took 14 days to get from Bristol to New York. And there's a fun fact. This is a fun fact for you. Apparently, the accent of Bristol, the real accent of Bristol today, is like the 19th century accent of New York. There you go. I don't know how we can prove that, or it's just me saying that, but there it is. SS Great Britain. And this is Samuel Plimsoll, not of the famous Plimsolls or whatever, but he was the guy that invented the Plimsoll line, which is on the ship, which keeps it, well, it helps to centre the ship when it's being laden, etc. And this line helped a lot of ships not to sink. So, well done, Mr. Samuel Plimsoll. That could be a Banksy. You don't need planning permission to build castles in the sky. This is College Green, which is the council building of Bristol. So it's like the mairie, if you like, of Bristol. It's here they do all their fighting and arguing. And over there is Bristol Cathedral. And then from this green space, there's always a lot of protests along here. We have the council houses over here, the big crescent place, where the mayor and the councillors of Bristol meet all the time. And they're over there, just going up the hill, is Park Street, which is going towards the Downs. We may get there, in fact, in a bit. This is Park Street, and we're, I think at the top here, it joins onto Whiteladies Road, which has another bit of history for Bristol history. And that over there, that tower, is part of the university, I think. So it's another controversial thing in Bristol. There's only controversy here. This was donated by the Wills family, which was a big tobacco family based in Bristol. That's probably a memorial to the Zulu Wars or the Boer War. And over here we have one of the buildings of the University of Bristol. Quite nice. Did you know? This is a bit of a fun fact. Just a bit further up here, there is the production company called Ardman, which is where Wallace and Gromit is made. Up here somewhere. See if I can find it. This is a Methodist church. I don't think they do it here anymore, but that was the old BBC building for BBC Bristol. And now we're going along another road, which is a little bit controversial. It's called Whiteladies Road, and apparently it has an allusion to rich white women who owned slaves. This was quite the posh part of Bristol at the time. Very big houses, very rich people. And this leads on to, controversially, Black Boy Hill, unless they have renamed it. But we'll have a look. And that probably is BBC Bristol. They probably still broadcast from here now.
Which is obviously quite, so they class it as on.
So there you go, the continuation of Whiteladies Road onto Black Boy Hill. So talking about green spaces, this is called the Downs, or some people call it Clifton Downs, and we're going to go now to the Clifton Suspension Bridge, which is a bit famous as well. Off we go. Yeah, so these downs, they're like as far as the eye can see. It's right in the centre of the, well, more or less in the centre of Bristol. It's magnificent. We're still in the city of Bristol. I've been walking for about 5 kilometres and it's only been like this. It's absolutely fabulous. We're just coming up to the Clifton Suspension Bridge normally. So let's have a look what that looks like from the top or wherever. So here is the Clifton Suspension Bridge, built by the same guy that built the SS Great Britain, spanning the Avon Gorge. And this place is also, well, before it used to be a place where people came to commit suicide, jumping off generally into the mud. And there's a story in Victorian times of a woman who threw herself off. She was in an abusive relationship, and she had one of these, you know, these big bustly sort of skirts and whatever, and it actually acted like a parachute, and she sailed safely to the side. But this sort of tells you what type of place it is. It's where people come when they're on their last sort of hopes to throw themselves off the bridge. Yeah, anyway, not a nice thing, but it's quite beautiful. And that flowing at the bottom is the River Avon, which then joins to the Severn and then to the Bristol Channel, which takes it out to sea. Let's see if we can get on the bridge, although there seems to be a bit of work there. Christmas steps, and we're in May. It's not spelling mistakes, it's just Old English. So it was done, this street was done in 1669. So I'm now in Penarth. This is where I'm staying for 2 nights. It's not too far from Cardiff. It's about a €15 or something like that Uber, and it's much better staying here than in the city centre, really, I think. Yesterday it was beautiful. Today we've got, well, Welsh weather. I couldn't say English weather, it's Welsh weather. A bit cloudy. And now I'm on a thing called a pier. And the thing is, a pier is like an institution in British seaside sort of culture or whatever. It's where people go to walk down this boardwalk towards the sea. And just over there, I don't know if you can see it, but the white building with the lights is where I'm staying. And I've got a room with a fabulous view of the sea, which yesterday was absolutely brilliant. It was absolutely chocker with people because it was hot. Yeah, the sun was out. It was really, really beautiful. But today, we're back to the real weather that they should be having. And hopefully when I get back to the cruise, it will be nice weather again. So. Went to the rugby yesterday, saw Bath get beat Lyon, totally outclassed them really. And today I'm going to go to see Bordeaux Bègles play Northampton Saints in the final of the Investec Champions Cup. So that's what I'll be doing today. I'm going to go for a walk for a little bit. It's a bit cool, a bit chilly. Might have some breakfast somewhere. And then I'll make my way into Cardiff to go and watch the rugby. And last night I was with a group of like 20 Portuguese rugby fans. It was absolutely mad, but really, really nice people. And as I had a ticket to spare, I gave one away to one of them, and we watched the rugby together. It was great, really, really good. And hopefully I'll see him again today. Anyway, there you go.